We live in a world where you can buy almost anything with just one tap. Clothes, electronics, vacations, everything is just a few clicks away. And if you do not have the money right now, that is okay. Because companies now tell you, don't worry, just buy now and pay later. Sounds great, right? No credit card needed, no interest, no hassle. You get what you want today and pay for it over a few weeks. It feels smart. It feels convenient. But here's the uncomfortable truth: it's a financial trap disguised as a friendly payment option. Buy now, pay later, or BNPL, has exploded across the world. Services like Afterpay, Klarna, Affirm, and Zip are everywhere. Even major companies like Apple and PayPal now offer their own versions. In fact, millions of people now use BNPL instead of credit cards. But behind the easy installments and sleek apps lies a dangerous pattern that could silently destroy your financial future. Let's break it down. When you use a buy now, pay later service, you typically make a small down payment, maybe 25% of the total, and then pay the rest in installments, often over 4 or 6 weeks. It doesn't sound bad. There's usually no interest and no fees if you pay on time. That's what they tell you. But that's not the full story. Because these services are designed to make you spend more than you normally would. They play on psychology. When something feels cheaper upfront, you're more likely to buy it even if you can't afford it. You're not paying $200 today, you're paying $50. And that tricks your brain into thinking it is a good deal. But multiply that by a few purchases and suddenly you owe hundreds of dollars next month. Buy now, pay later turns impulse spending into a habit. You start buying things you wouldn't have bought with cash. A new pair of shoes, another gadget, one more outfit because it is only a small payment today. And by the time you realize how much you have committed to, it is too late. Here's the thing. BNPL companies know exactly what they're doing. They make money when you overspend or miss a payment. Late fees, penalties, and interest start piling up fast. Even if it's just a few dollars each time, those add up quickly. And if you keep missing payments, they can report it to credit bureaus, damaging your credit score. But it doesn't stop there. Many people are juggling multiple buy now, pay later plans at once. One with Klarna, one with Afterpay, another with Affirm. And none of these companies are connected, so you might have 4 or 5 loans running at the same time without realizing how much you actually owe. It is like having invisible debt scattered across different apps. That's one of the biggest dangers of BNPL. You lose track of your real spending. You think you are managing your payments fine, until suddenly, payday comes, and half your check goes toward installment payments. Then you are short on cash for essentials. So what happens next? You borrow again, and the debt cycle begins. It's the modern version of the credit card trap, but sneakier. At least with credit cards, you know you are borrowing money. But BNPL tricks you into thinking you're not. It makes debt look harmless. It makes debt look easy. And that's the danger. Studies show that over 40% of BNPL users have missed at least one payment. And more than half admit they spent more than they planned to because of these services. Many end up using credit cards or personal loans just to pay off their BNPL balances. So the no-interest plan suddenly becomes very expensive. Let's talk about how BNPL affects your credit. Most companies claim that using their service won't hurt your credit score. And that's partially true until you miss a payment. If you fail to pay on time, that can be reported to credit bureaus, lowering your score. And unlike traditional loans, these short-term payments don't usually help build your credit either. So you are taking risk, but not gaining any long-term financial benefit. Another issue is transparency. BNPL apps don't always make their terms clear. They emphasize zero interest, but often hide small fees in the fine print. Late payments can trigger penalties, and repeated late payments can lead to account suspension or even collections. It's easy to ignore all this when the purchase feels effortless. But behind the screen, you are signing short-term loans, real loans, with real consequences. Now, let's talk about how BNPL companies market themselves. They target young adults, especially Gen Z and millennials, who are more likely to shop online. They use flashy designs, bright colors, and social media influencers to make it look trendy. It's not about helping you budget, it's about getting you to spend more. That's why stores love BNPL. Retailers have reported that customers who use BNPL spend up to 45% more on average. And for companies, that means huge profits. They've turned debt into a lifestyle. They make borrowing money feel fun and harmless. But here's the reality. Debt is debt, no matter how it's packaged. And if you keep stacking up payments for things that don't grow in value, you're just draining your future income. Let's think about the emotional side too. When you owe money to multiple BNPL apps, it creates hidden stress. You might not call it debt, but your mind knows it is there. It weighs on you, even if it is just a few payments. That constant pressure of upcoming dues can mess with your sleep, your focus, and your confidence. And once you fall behind, it is hard to catch up. BNPL doesn't give you flexible repayment like credit cards or personal loans. They want their payments on fixed dates. Miss one, and the late fees start stacking. Miss 2 or 3, and they might freeze your account or send you to collections. All because you wanted to split a simple purchase. Now, some people argue that buy now, pay later can be used responsibly. And yes, it can, if you have strong discipline and a clear budget. If you are buying something necessary, you have the money coming in, and you just want to split payments for cash flow reasons, it can work. But let's be honest, most people don't use it that way. Most people use it for emotional spending. And that's where it becomes dangerous. Financially smart people understand one rule. If you can't afford to buy it in full today, you can't afford it to period. BNPL tries to make you forget that rule. It gives you an illusion of affordability. But it's just delayed debt dressed as convenience. Let's imagine two people. One buys a $1,000 laptop using a buy now, pay later plan, $250 upfront, then 3 more payments. The other saves up for 3 months, buys it in full, and moves on. Who do you think feels more in control? The second person, always. Because they own it outright. No upcoming payments, no hidden stress. That's real financial freedom. The first person? They now have a $750 balance that still needs to be paid. And if something unexpected happens, a car repair, a medical bill, or job loss, they are suddenly behind on payments. The convenience becomes a burden. And here's the irony. BNPL claims to help you manage your money. But in reality, it makes you manage more payments, not less. It fragments your financial life into small, scattered obligations. And that confusion is what keeps you stuck in debt. Let's talk about what happens behind the scenes. BNPL companies partner with retailers who pay them a fee for every transaction. That's how they can afford to offer interest-free loans. But that also means these companies are incentivized to make you spend more. The more you buy, the more they earn. And they have teams of psychologists, designers, and marketers studying how to make you click buy here without thinking twice. You're not just a customer, you're the product. And the problem is growing fast. In the United States alone, over 50 million people used buy now, pay later last year. Global BNPL spending has crossed hundreds of billions of dollars. And regulators are now starting to notice. Because they see how this model encourages overspending and traps people in debt they can't handle. So what can you do to protect yourself? First, understand what BNPL really is. It's not a budgeting tool, it's a microloan. A short-term high-risk loan disguised as convenience. Once you see it for what it is, you will use it differently. Second, always ask yourself before using BNPL. Would I buy this if I had to pay the full price upfront today? If the answer is no, you probably shouldn't buy it. Third, track every installment you agree to. Put them in a spreadsheet or budgeting app. Because if you have more than 2 active BNPL payments at a time, you're playing with fire. Fourth, prioritize building an emergency fund. Having cash on hand gives you options. You won't need to rely on pay later services to afford simple things. And finally, build the habit of delayed gratification. That's what real financial strength is. When you wait, you gain control. When you buy instantly, you lose it. Buy now, pay later is not evil by itself. But it becomes dangerous when it is used emotionally, not intentionally. Because convenience can cost you freedom. And what looks like flexibility can quietly become financial chains. The companies offering BNPL are not doing it out of kindness. They are billion-dollar corporations built on your spending habits. Their success depends on you staying hooked, just like social media platforms or fast food chains. They don't want you to pause and think. They want you to swipe, tap, and spend again. But now that you know the game, you have the power to step back. You can decide to take control instead of being controlled. You can choose to save, plan, and spend only when it truly makes sense. Because at the end of the day, financial freedom isn't about having access to easy money. It's about having the discipline to say no when something doesn't serve your future. So the next time you see that Pay in 4 option pop up, pause for a second. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Or am I just falling for convenience that is secretly costing me peace of mind? Make decisions your future self will thank you for. Because small choices today create massive consequences tomorrow. And avoiding unnecessary debt is one of the smartest financial moves you will ever make. If you found this message helpful, make sure to hit like and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Let's help more people see the truth behind buy now, pay later before it's too late. And if you are ready to take control of your money, start by subscribing to the channel. We're building wealth the smart way, step by step, together. Because the goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to actually be free.